everybody, I'm Jessie the Lookout, and today we're talking Game of Thrones, Season 5, Episode 3, The High Sparrow. This is my spoiler dance. I dance when there are spoilers before a video. I'm gonna talk about things that happen in the books that aren't happening in the show. So if you're reading the books, I'll see you later. This week I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to start at the north of Braavos, head over to the wall, work my way down through the north towards the south, and then from the south head back over to the east to finish up in Volantis with Tyrion and his new best friends. Oh, I got some feelings about some of the stuff that happened in this episode, guys. I got some feels. So right away we open with Arya in the House of Black and White, and it's pretty cool in here. In the books there are about 30 faces of gods around the whole room, and here we can recognize a couple of them, but among them are the Weeping Lady of List, the Lion of the Night, we have the Weirwood face, and we also have the Heart of R'hllor, and then whoever these two guys are. But in the middle of the room is this gaping hole of nothing. Or what looks like nothing. It's clearly a well, but it's just the black hole imagery. It's strong. You can see this random guy hanging out, bending over the pool, praying, and Jaqen gives him a cup full of water. Two of them say the magic words, and less than 2 minutes later, this guy is super dead. Arya shows she has a lot of class by having a huge tantrum in front of everybody, demanding that she become Jaqen's apprentice. But of course, Jaqen's like, I don't do petulant 10-year-olds, and he bails. We also get to meet this chick, who is kind of a huge asshole. In the books, there's this girl who also plays the face game with Arya, but she's this shrunken 36-year-old woman with the appearance of a child, and she looks that way because she's been exposed to the poisons within the house, like, for years, and as a result, they've made her look wee and tiny. Later, when Arya is hanging out in the sleeping quarters, the Waif and Jaqen explain in their own special ways that in order to become an apprentice at the house, she has to abandon her identity as Arya Stark and become no one. Which then leads to what is probably my favorite scene in the entire episode. Or one of my favorite scenes in the entire episode. Arya is throwing away her belongings one at a time until she reaches Needle. We can clearly see Arya struggle with giving up the sword, and there is a passage from the books that you can just see it all happening on Maisie Williams' face while she's performing this scene. Maisie Williams does such a fantastic job as Arya. Really, she is just so on point. Needle was Robb and Bran and Rickon, her mother and her father, even Sansa. Needle was Winterfell's grey walls and the laughter of its people. Needle was the summer snows, old Nan's stories, the heart tree with its red leaves and scary face, and the warm earthy smell of the glass gardens. The sound of the north wind rattling the shutters in her room. Needle was Jon Snow's smile. He used to mess my hair and call me little sister, she remembered, and suddenly there were tears in her eyes. So she keeps it. No matter how far she travels on her journey, no matter how many identities she takes on, she will always be Arya Stark of Winterfell. Fuck. I'm okay. Don't look at me. After that, Arya levels up to Corpse Washer. Great. And that's all we get for Arya. Oh, it's just not enough. There's just not enough. How long does it take me to talk about? Like 2 minutes? Give me more. We head over west to north of the wall, where Stannis tries one more time to get Jon to join Team Dragonstone. But Jon's like, bro, are you serious? I just became Lord Commander. Shit just got super fucking sweet for me. I don't need Winterfell. I got the fucking watch to take care of now. Check out Jon's hot beard. So gruff. Jon and Stannis set the mood for the rest of the sequence. Jon is going to have to make some very real decisions as Lord Commander, so he better not wuss out now. But Jon knows better than anyone.
Winter is coming.
Yes, yes, oh my god, say it again.
Winter is coming.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. And while I enjoyed the pom-pom throwing that Davos did after Stannis left, it did make me wonder, where Millie at? Where's Millie Fire hanging out? Oh, laughter. Enjoy it while you can, boys. Jon continues to show everyone that he was the best choice by not only organizing a shithole, but by nominating Sir Alliser as First Ranger. That's a pretty classy move on Jon's part, and while Alliser isn't a huge fan of Jon quite yet, I think he's starting to respect him. Janos, on the other hand, shows everyone what a blubbering baby he is by refusing a direct order from the Lord Commander. And in an act of pure epicry, Jon Snow shows him that he is not fucking around right after he finishes his ale. Waste not, want not, bitches. I also really enjoyed Alistair in this sequence as well. I mean, Alistair knows that Jon isn't playing games, and now that he's promoted as First Ranger, he's not going to deal with Janos' bullshit anymore. And unfortunately for Janos, Winter is not kind to cowards. Remember everybody, the man who gives the sentence should be the one to swing the sword. Oh, Dany, bad move, girl.
Oh, yeah. Got such a justice boner right now.
Also, one more thing. There wasn't any Maester Aemon. Like, at all. Maybe if Aemon was there, Jon wouldn't have had to dispose of Janos the way he did. But since Aemon wasn't there, you know, Jon's a big boy, he can make his own decisions, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I want Maester Aemon back. Right now. Give him back to me. Just slightly, a little bit further south, we get to see Winterfell being rebolted. Rebolted by the builders. No, that's not funny. Just slightly south of the wall, we get to see Winterfell being rebuilt by the Boltons. Because if you'll remember a couple seasons ago, Theon kind of took it over and then set it on fire and killed everybody inside. So, since then, and since the Boltons want to live in the Winterfell, you know, they gotta fix it up a bit. It's a bit of a fixer-upper. Look, new birdies! They actually come back later in the episode whenever Peter Baelish sends a message back to Cersei. Because in case you guys didn't know, in this series, all the messages are sent via Raven. And actually, the further north you go, the more likely you are to encounter white ravens, which do exist in the real world, but most of the time they have health problems. I see they're also redecorating. I wonder if they took those down when Peter and Sansa showed up. Because, like, fucking gross. I gotta hand it to Alfie here. He is doing a great job as Reek. Everybody across the board is doing really great. But in this sequence, Reek doesn't actually say anything to anyone. All of his expression and his acting and his struggle is all in his expressions and the pure body acting that Alfie is doing. And he's doing a great job. I love it. His best sequence, in my opinion, is probably whenever Sansa walks by in the background and you can see him struggling to remember his name. The man he was before, Theon, he betrayed her family and was a very large part in the downfall of House Stark. Reek, it rhymes with weak. Just slightly further south, we get to see Sansa and Peter taking a pit stop at Moat Cailin, which we don't get to see. Like, that was kind of lame. Like, it takes a long time to get to Winterfell from the Eyrie, so I can understand why they'd want to hang out at Moat Cailin for a little while for, like, a break and stuff, but I wanna see Moat Cailin again. Look, you showed it to me. Now, give me some more. But really what this whole sequence was is them taking the opportunity to explain to us that the marriage proposal that Peter arranged wasn't for him, it was for Sansa. Ew, get away from her, stop touching her. Oh my god, stop touching her. Don't use your mouth. Ew, I hate it, it's so gross. It's so gross, I hate it. Oh, look, it's Pod and Brahid. You guys are so much fun. I'm gonna talk about you in a second. Later, when Team Bird Metaphor shows up at Winterfell, we can see Sansa putting on the face. You know the face. It's the retail face. It's the, I want to fucking cut you, but then I won't get paid face. There's no way that Roose doesn't know how much Sansa hates him. Like, allegedly he murdered Robb, but like, it's pretty, like, I wouldn't take that risk. If I was Roose, I would be worried for my son. We also get to dwell for like a little bit too long on Ramsay's former girlfriends. I'm sensing some women scorned bullshit in Sansa's future. In the meantime though, my bet is that one of these bitches is gonna get uppity about Sansa and she's gonna have to cut them. Admittedly, when Ramsay tells Baelish that he's not going to hurt Sansa, I kind of believe him. Like, maybe Ramsay's never had anything nice in his entire life, and now he's being given Sansa, so maybe he's gonna, like, protect her in, like, a fragile doll kind of way, and, like, that's gonna come out in really fucked up, really manipulative ways.
The North remembers.
It sure does, old lady who isn't old Nan. The last we get to see of the North for this episode is Peter Baelish talking it up with the Bolton men. When Peter says he doesn't know anything about Ramsay, I kind of believe him too. I really don't, I think Peter Baelish is too smart to leave the biggest key to the North in the hands of a murderer. Plus, you know, like, Sansa is like the younger, hotter Catelyn Stark, so I don't see him really wanting to leave Sansa with a rapist, you know? So I actually believe Peter when he says that he doesn't know anything about Ramsay. Ramsay because I think Peter's smarter than that. Roose also makes it very clear that he is aware of the political backlash that will happen when Ramsay marries Sansa. Roose ain't no fool. Like, he's brutal and he's ruthless, but he's not stupid. He knows how the game is played. He didn't get to be Warden of the North because he tripped on it, you know? Like, he's worked his way there. His family has worked their way into this position over like hundreds of years. There's always been a little bit of animosity between the Starks and the Boltons. Because, you know, the Boltons got that whole flaying thing, and the Starks outlawed it a long time ago because, like, ew, yuck, no thanks. But now they're on top, and Roose wants it to stay that way for maybe longer than just his reign. Because that was one of the fatal flaws with Tywin, is that he fought so hard to bring his family back into power, but when he died, it's starting to crumble. And Roose doesn't want that for his family. So he's keeping his eyes on Peter Baelish, that slithery little piece of garbage. Plus, like, we don't know what Peter's endgame is right now. But, I mean, like, he's not slowing down yet, that's for sure. In this scene, Peter also receives a message from Cersei, which happened, like, literally in the scene previous to this. So that means that, like, weeks passed between cuts. No big deal, I guess. So technically, what's happening to Sansa is unwritten territory for her. But it is not unwritten territory for the books. That is to say, a Stark girl getting married to Ramsay happens in the books. But it is not Sansa or Arya who marries Ramsay. What happens is that they create this fake Arya out of one of Sansa's former best friends, and then they say, like, she's Arya, we're going to marry Ramsay to Arya, this fake Arya, and then that will secure the Boltons in the north. I think her name is Jane Poole. So in the books, Peter Baelish arranges for Jane Poole to get married to Ramsay Bolton under the guise of Arya Stark. But of course, when this fake Arya shows up at Winterfell, Theon recognizes her and knows that she's not Arya. But, like, he can't say anything because, like, A, there's a chance that nobody would believe him, B, it would fuck up a lot of shit and it would probably end up with him dead, or C, like, he's not Theon anymore, he's Reek. Reek doesn't know who Arya is. Theon knew who Arya was, but Theon is dead. All that's left is Reek. So this plot that's happening right now, if it is what I think it is, it has happened in the books. But if they do to Sansa what has happened to Jane in the books, I'm gonna have a lot of words. A lot of really rude, words to say about it. It might even change my opinion on this series because it would directly conflict with themes that are present in Sansa's storyline throughout this whole series. But we'll see. It might just be inspired by this particular plot line, and it might not go where it could potentially go. But if it does go there, oh, I just might lose it a little. But I mean, like, if you know me, that's not really a new thing. But I'll be upset and I'll have feelings and words about it. But anyway, it might not happen. I'm hesitant right now. We'll see how it goes. Let's talk about something more fun, like Pot and Brine. I actually don't have a lot to say about Pot and Brine, except that I really appreciate their fun little adventures through the countryside. They're a bit of a distraction from the main plot, but it's nice to see some fun and joy in the series sometimes. Like, this series is extremely dark, but it doesn't have to be all dark all the time. This season, you can tell they're trying to lighten it up a little bit with, like, how sassy everybody's being, but it's nice to see a team that is a little functional, you know? I'm wondering if we'll be able to get to see Pod become a knight and a competent fighter eventually. Like, that would be really nice. A nice little arc for him to go through. Unfortunately, I'm not getting my hopes up, though, because, as we know, Westeros is where dreams go to die. Alright, enough of the Northmen, although we love them, for the most part, and we head south, where we get to see the wedding of Marjorie and Tommen. Not quite the big fanfare that was Joffrey's wedding. It's a bit of a smaller to-do. But it happens. Marjorie finally gets to be queen. Third time's the charm, right, girl? Yeah, you get it. We also get exactly 5 seconds of King's Landing in the Sept of Baelor, which for the time it was on screen, I really enjoyed. We also get to watch Cersei experiencing the citywide Marjorie fan club meeting. Also, this box is super fancy and awesome. I had slaves to carry it. I mean, employees, they don't have slaves in Westeros. So, the wedding between Marjorie and Tommen hasn't happened yet in the books. When Joffrey is murdered, Tommen is still a very young boy, and as a result, Marjorie's more like his best friend. She gets him kittens, and they go on walks together, and they hang out, and it's all very cute. The problem the wedding in the show creates, though, is that if Tommen is old enough to be wed, then, like, why isn't he on the small council choosing his own hand? And for that matter, like, why isn't Marjorie on the small council? Like, she's the fucking queen now. Like, I know Mace Tyrell is there, and I'm sure they talk about things, but I mean, like, if I was the queen, like, I'd want to be on the small council. Like, Cersei's still sitting at the head of that table, and, like, there's no reason for her to be there anymore. Plus, when it comes to the Tyrells, like, we know that women rule that family. Like, Mace is, he's cute, and I like him, and I want him to stick around, but, like, Marjorie and Olenna are clearly the game players in this family. These next handful of scenes are all super great. We can see Cersei slowly getting boxed in from all sides. Even on her wedding night, Marjorie is still playing the game. Whether that is convincing her husband to go to bed, or convincing him to send his mother to the Casterly the Rock old folks home. My most favorite scene from this whole southern sequence is when Cersei goes to visit Marjorie and her cousins. Marjorie is telling her cousins about her exploits with Tommen, and it's funny and it's cute when Cersei shows up, and Marjorie just fucking whips out these burns like, hey, you're old, hey, you're an alcoholic, I'm having sex with your underage son. You can just fucking see Cersei's face just so brokenhearted. Like, she is trying, the woman is grasping at straws right now, and they're just falling through her fingers. I know Cersei has been like a huge asshole like this whole series, but the woman has gumption. Now this little smirking brat is fucking her son, and she is just drifting off into obscurity. Really, if Tywin had taught her how to be a player instead of using her as a pawn, she could actually figure out how to work with the people around her and stay in power. But unfortunately for Cersei, the cards have been stacked against her from the beginning. That's kind of the tragedy of her whole arc, is that because she was born a woman in Westeros, she'll never ever possess the amount of power that Jaime or Tywin or Tyrion could potentially have. But I mean, like, that's the excuse she uses, that she isn't as good a player because she's a woman, but in reality, like, it's because she's just not very good at politics. But I mean, the reason she's not good at politics is because she wasn't born a man, so nobody taught her how to do it in the first place. It's a terrible cycle, and I feel for her in these scenes and as a character in general. Like, I know she's not that sympathetic, but I feel for her. Elsewhere in King's Landing, we get to see the current High Septon praying to the Faith of the Seven. He chooses the Maid.
Where's the maiden?
And the Stranger, which could be a little bit of foreshadowing, somehow. Not like he's gonna, not like that. I mean, like, they're representative. Never mind, forget I said anything. I'm really glad we got to see close-ups of both butts and cooches this episode. It really makes up for the boobless atrocity that was the previous episode. So before the good part even happens, Lancel and his Sparrow buddy show up to publicly shame the High Septon. This results in the Septon going to the Small Council and demanding that the High Sparrow be sent to the Black Cells. Now, for those who don't know, under the Red Keep there are 4 layers of cells, of prisons. And the 4th one, and the worst one of them all, is called the Black Cells. Back in when Tyrion was originally escaping, Varys takes Tyrion through the Black Cells, but the thing about them is the reason they're called the Black Cells is because there's no light down there. The people who are down there never experience light ever again, nor a moment without pain. It's where people go to be tortured until they die. So the fact that this High Septon wants the High Sparrow to be sent to the Black Cells is fucking dark. Also, just a little bit of backstory for the High Sparrow. All we've gotten from him right now is that he hangs out with poor people and he worships the Faith of the Seven. But before he makes it to King's Landing, he actually spent the last couple of years after the War of the Five Kings traveling the Riverlands and the Eyrie to small villages that don't have a sept. And there he was absolving people of their sins, getting people married, and like naming babies and stuff. As a result, he gained the favor of the small folk, because a result of the War of the Five Kings is that we can more clearly see the disconnect between the small folk and the highborn. Even when Cersei comes to visit the High Sparrow, she's like plugging her nose to like push herself away from their stench, even though these are her people. These are the people that she's supposed to be ruling over. Even in their clothes, we can clearly see like they're all wearing burlap sacks and she's got this amazing dress with a metal corset accessory. Cersei visits him very briefly, and we get to see how he's like the fun time Sparrow, and presumably she's trying to put him in her back pocket for later. Because, you know, instead of putting him in the Black Cells, she banished the former High Septon to the dungeons in the Red Keep. I assume not to the Black Cells, because that seems a little harsh, but Cersei is like a raging bitch, so maybe, who knows? Let's just, okay, anyway, moving on. Shortly after that, Cersei goes to visit Qyburn to get him to send a message to Peter Baelish in the north. This shot is lasting too long. Why haven't they cut yet? What's going on? I don't like it. Something's going to happen. Bitch, don't do it. Oh, don't do it! Oh my fucking god! Didn't we see this in the last episode? Okay, I might have mentioned him in the first episode, but what's happening here is that whoever is under that blanket might become known as someone called Sir Robert Strong. We don't know anything about it in the book. There's no proof that they're the same person or anything, but I would not Google it if I was a show watcher, because it will spoil things for later in the season for you, so don't do it. But I will say though, it's time to get hype! Now we head over east to experience our last adventure featuring Tyrion and Varys and a very special guest. Tyrion is going bananas, so to save himself, he's gonna get out of that carriage, get drunk, and get laid. Man, Volantis looked badass! It's like a bridge city, like how cool is that? We also get to experience more slavery. Could you imagine getting a fly on your face? Like, I'm a shit shoveler. That's what I do. You got some shit to shovel? Cause like, that's the highlight of my fucking day. On Tyrion's journey through the city, we get to experience a meeting of the followers of R'hllor, which is pretty cool, you know? It's cool to see that where the religion came from. It originally came from the east and then ended up in Westeros, but one of the things that's especially interesting about this gathering is that they are naming Daenerys Targaryen as the savior. I mean, like, there's even like a prostitute later who's dressed up as her. And as offended as you may or may not be by the Daenerys look-alike, fun fact, she's in the book. Jorah actually purchases her services and to lighten the load of how fucking terrible his life is now. You know, if they're gonna keep this kind of stuff up, they're gonna have to change the name to Game of Sass. Everyone is they're just so full of sass this episode. It's just left and right. People are just so much fire. You don't even need Daenerys to come down. There's just so much burning already happening. Well, I'm not funny. I'm sorry. So in the brothel, unfortunately, Tyrion can't get it up because the last prostitute he hung out with kind of turned out to be out for herself, or was a woman scorned, depending on who you ask.
Until quite recently, I was one of the richest men in the world. I always pay my debts. I'm well known for it. That's because they've never met a queen.
You'd think Tyrion would know better by now than to run his mouth to a prostitute. But I guess at this point, he's just really drunk and, like, out of fucks to give. Varys really dropped the ball this episode. He lost Tyrion, like, 3 times, and as a result, Jorah kidnaps him to take him to the queen. Which queen, I wonder?
You know which queen.
Jorah and Tyrion actually meet up in the books, too, but it's under completely different circumstances. They're both kind of slaves, but I have a feeling they might not indulge in that plotline this time. They might just take Tyrion straight to Daenerys, which is a shame for Jorah's plot, because then we don't get the parallel of him, you know, originally selling people into slavery and then becoming a slave himself. So his thematic evolution is kind of, it's who cares, right? Themes, that's not why people read books. Probably. And that's the whole episode. Everybody was on point this episode. A+, everybody. The Moat Kaelin scene was probably the dumbest scene to me. Sometimes this show is a little sloppy with its exposition, but as a result, we got that really lovely scene between Pod and Bod. But as a result, we got that really cute scene between Pod and Brienne, which was nice, and I really enjoyed that. I have gotten Sansa every episode so far. This is awesome! More Sansa, more Arya, more Stark babies. I demand it. Let me tell you, with all those thick-ass beards of the North, Stannis isn't the only one with a justice boner. So, some of my predictions for the next episode. I actually don't think we're going to get any Sansa or Arya in the next episode. I've already gotten like 3 episodes of Sansa and 2 with Arya, so I'm not confident we're going to see them again. I'm predicting a lot of Sand Snake action in the next episode, since that would be episode 4, and we've only got 1 scene with Dorne in it so far. Oh, we're definitely going to get a Jaime and Bronn update next episode. Fingers crossed, hoping it is 100% shenanigans. More Jon Snow being Lord Commander. More! We can't have an episode without a Stark baby in it, so I have a feeling we're going to get Jon for next episode. We'll have to see what happens. Probably something with Mellyfire. No Daenerys this episode. I can only hope for more Cersei and Marjorie sassery. I'm predicting a little bit more with the High Sparrow, because Cersei thinks she has the High Sparrow in her back pocket, but the High Sparrow is aware of the discrepancy between the Highborn and the Low. So I don't see him being easily manipulated by her. We'll have to see how that develops. Still no update on the wildlings. I guess we're supposed to assume that they're just hanging out somewhere in Castle Black or on the Wall. Actually, you know what? I think next episode we'll probably get a little bit more of the wildlings, because Giantsbane was mentioned like 1 time by Stannis, so I have a feeling that him and Jon are going to do some planning and then do things with the wildlings. We'll see how that goes. Well, of course, no Bran. We're not getting any Bran, which is a bummer. So that's all for my Game of Thrones rewind for this week. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I love doing these. They take up a lot of time, and I don't have a lot of time to do much else during the week, but I love making these. I love talking about Game of Thrones, and if you guys have any questions or if I made any mistakes, you can go ahead and leave those in the comments below. I always appreciate your feedback. And let me know if you guys have any theories or ideas about episodes coming up. I would love to hear them. If you enjoyed this video, you can give it a thumbs up, or maybe share it with some of your other Game of Thrones friends. You can catch me on other social media like Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, and Ello. Oh, I'm just so excited for this season. I'm scared, but I'm excited, and I'm gonna try and be there with you guys the whole time, the whole journey. It's you and me and the rest of the internet. Yeah, let's do it, guys. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next week.